this video, I will define Jean Piaget's preoperational stage of development, then I will discuss the children's book I chose that demonstrates preoperational thought, and then I will share my takeaway and insight that I gained from doing the assignment. The book I chose is Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. I will be referencing the story throughout this video to aid in explaining preoperational thought. Chapter 9.2 of the Developing Person Through the Lifespan states that early childhood is characterized by preoperational intelligence. Early childhood thinking is considered pre-operational because children do not yet use logical operations. Mainly, preoperational thought is defined by four things: symbolic thought, animism, centration, and egocentrism. I spotted examples of all these things in Where the Wild Things Are, but for the sake of time, I'm going to focus on egocentrism and symbolic thought, which I felt were the most prevalent throughout the story. If you haven't read this book, in Where the Wild Things Are, an honorary boy named Max is sent to his room by his mother without dinner. Once in his room, he sails to an island inhabited by giant wild creatures known as the Wild Things, who crown him their king. After a wild adventure, Max realizes he misses home and returns to find his supper waiting for him. I'll start with egocentrism. Egocentrism refers to the child's inability to see a situation from another person's point of view. The egocentric child assumes that other people see, hear, and feel exactly the same as the child does. That's according to simplypsychology.org. Max cannot see his mother's point of view that he is being mischievous. He has his own perception only and is just playing around. Max also believes he can command the wild things and become their king. His perspective is centered around his own experiences and feelings, reflecting the egocentric nature of children in this stage. So moving on to symbolic thought. Children demonstrate symbolic thought often through pretend or symbolic play. Children often pretend to be people they are not. Examples are superheroes, policemen, and they may play these roles with props that symbolize real-life objects. Children may also invent imaginary places and things. So as for symbolic play, Max uses his imagination to transform his room into a forest and himself into a wild creature. This demonstrates symbolic thought, a key characteristic of the preoperational stage. A more meaningful example a more meaningful example of symbolic thought is demonstrated towards the end of the story. This is actually my favorite part of the book because it kind of all came full circle. So when Max comes down off his angsty high, he tells the wild things to stop, and he sends them off without their supper, just as his mother had done to him. He seemingly accepts defeat and gives up being king of Where the Wild Things Are. He returns home to find a hot dinner waiting for him. He is essentially coping and navigating the conflict he experienced with his mother through his imaginary narrative he's created. And so this kind of brings me to my conclusion and takeaway. Simplypsychology.org states that in symbolic play, young children advance upon their cognitions about people, objects, and actions, and in this way construct increasingly sophisticated representations of the world. This is evident in the book. From an egocentric point of view, Max uses symbolic thought and play to understand and cope with his predicament. Even though he's in trouble, in his mind, he is king of the wild things. Max's emotions drive much of the story, from his anger at his mother to his joy in becoming king. His responses showcase the emotional reasoning common in preoperational children. Max demonstrates how the feelings of a child are incredibly simple and yet a bit complex when you lack the operational logic to sort them out. Thank you.